this.
I don't know, but this might be the funniest part of the content.
Yeah, I can't open it, no. What's the hole? The hole is supposed to be something. I kind of usually just feel, like, you know the hood of a car and you kind of feel under? Like, I usually do that and it kind of, so it's such a good box that you literally cannot open it. I was a sneaker nerd. I was very insatiable in terms of like wanting to know everything about sneakers, footwear, this, that, and the third. So as he kind of fell into his role and you know, further progressed through up the ladder, we kept in touch. And finally, we just started looking into what we could do differently. We hit him with the lobster and he was like, you know what? Well, now you have it, make sure you make it count. Because this might be your only chance. And so for that is when, you know, we talked to the team, T especially, and he was like, you know, we gotta do something crazy. And that's when we started looking at packaging. And we went through rounds and rounds of packaging. Some of it was more over the top than what we went to retail with. And it was quite expensive. And, you know, working with the team, because we didn't know how to make a box. It's not like you can just pick up the phone back then and be like, hey, I want this done. People would be like, what? And thank God it worked out. And we were all like, you know, sitting there kind of like, wow, we just made a shoe out of a lobster. Like, how dumb is this, you know? Before the red was done, I'm like, hey, I got this crazy idea to do blue. He's like, yo, chill. You know what I mean? I'm like, no, hear me out. There's like, this is where the packaging story really evolves, because the red was so over the top. Like, how can we can't do another, you know, lobster cracker and bib and all that. So that's when the idea for the blue came about. So we called these guys, we're like, hey, we want to do it like when you store fish, when it's cold with ice, what can you do? And they came back to us with this box here, which I shouldn't really say the price, but I guess I should so people get an understanding. These cost us $100 a piece. Trying to do a custom mold was very difficult. So all these little pieces here just added to the cost. So, and then factor in getting it shipped. This is actually sealed. This tape goes right over the edge here. So again, if you were to crack it or cut it like somebody did here, we kind of thought it'd be cool that it would lose value and you'd have to, you know, hopefully wear it instead. And then these were actually sealed as well. I'm not sure who ripped these open. I'm sure he's thrilled. But they were vacuum sealed, so there's no way getting around it. And then the shoe, we literally followed it to a T from the red. We knew we didn't need to deviate from the initial process. But one thing we did want to figure out is how to add that radioactive element. So we went with the neon green laces, which I'd like to give us a little bit of credit too. I think for Red Lobster, doing the butter laces, this doing green, we kind of got in the realm of experimenting with options of laces that didn't make sense. And now I see it's more of a trend than ever. So maybe a little bit of props to us for helping bring that aboard.
There were kids waiting in line, I think, for
6
like
days.
6 days.
6 days outside.
The orchestration of how everything came together that day, because of the content and the lobster attacking Boston and all this shit. Literally, dudes came walking down the street in hazmat suits with like dry ice.
The guys that did the packaging for us, they were like, yo, we wanted to, and I'm like, I don't know, man, that's a little crazy. And they're like, no, we want to do it. I'm like, if you got guys that are gonna dress up and do that, by all means, go for it. So purple and green, I think this is what we're probably most known for in most recent years before the Chodunkin. So what we did for this is we wanted to make sure the purple was like encased in ice. You can see here, pretty standard ice box. So instead we wanted to implement technology. So we added an AR code here that scans on your phone through the sneakers app and Nike, where when you scan it, it'll turn from I want to say it's a skull. It melts away the ice into a lobster. We made a lobster look like the face of a skull. And what's unique about this is if you bought this box and resold it, you know, within the next couple of days, that would have been great. But if you kept it and you applied the same AR technology a week later, the purple skull actually turned to green. So what we did was we didn't let anybody know. Nobody knew the green was coming out. They had the purple. A week later, we're like, hey, check your box. So all the kids that sold it were bummed. They're trying to get their shoe back. If you kept it and you lived in Boston or New York and you scanned it and it turned green, you basically were okay to go get the green one, purchase them. So it was kind of it's kind of a middle finger to resellers, but we thought that it was funny. Holy Grail actually came from a trip to Italy. I was like, for me, I think a holy grail is Monty Python. So I was like,
of course.
This is awesome. Like, I know exactly what I'm gonna do. I love the rabbit, eating people and all this stuff, and I'm like, but I can't make a shoe out of it, and I can't tell Nike it's got a movie reference unless I'm so obscure with it that everybody feels comfortable with it. So we kind of hit the drawing board a few times, came up with what's in this box here. But before we get to the shoe, the box. Holy grail, what do you put that in? Like, we got all these crazy packaging. This is supposed to, in the grail, in sneaker world, is, you know, the most coveted shoe that anybody would want. So it's already stiff competition before it's even unveiled. So we wanted to give back to the local community in both Boston and New York. We did a regular box for everybody online, which we knew was gonna get eaten up. So for Boston, we did a concrete box. This is actually, I think, like, I don't know, 10 pounds, 12 pounds, something like that. So we inscribed it in the mortar before it was dry, so it's kind of got this like little weird concepts font going on. And since we couldn't brand it or do a sticker, we hit it with the patch. And then here's the sneaker. So it's gonna hit quite differently in the light. It did kind of wear and tear and peel differently than we would have liked when kids skated them, but all in all, we're very happy with the way it came out. We did a red and blue tongue for no reason other than we wanted a little bit of contrast. Same thing on the sole. And then, to my point earlier, we threw a rabbit in there. Not the rabbit from the movie, but one that is a small reference to it, in the skull, because we thought it would be so obscure that nobody would get it. And it was one of those ones we dived so deep in the story that nobody got it. So nobody knew, which was good for us overall. And then for New York, we knew that we couldn't do the concrete box because we would have had to drive them all down. It would have been insane. So we actually did, I hope I'm saying this right, like a Japanese puzzle box. So this one was by far our most intricate. I'm not gonna try to open this on camera because I don't know the code, but I think it was, if you were to look at a clock, it was July 5th, 2012. I don't know what that means on here. But anyways, so we want to do a box within a box within a box, taking on the duck within a chicken within a turkey, I believe. So yeah, first time we ever did an outbound box that we wanted to like put artwork on, so we wanted it to look like a vintage oven box. And then we get to the shoe. So we incorporated gravy laces here because we thought this made the most sense. The folks at Nike were kind enough to let us write Duck High Pro on the shoe, which was a last minute ad. Big shouts out to my man Pelletier on that. He hooked it up. So yeah, we thought it would be funny to, you know, have a Vortex football, which kind of fit with the aesthetic of that Madden era getting tossed around. So they were really cool to work with, and we were super happy to have them involved.
I think one of the things too with this, when Deon was explaining the initial idea, was, wait a second, is it a Thanksgiving shoe?
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't, but it had a lot to do with football. You know, obviously
Time frame matched up.
Time frame matched with the season. Boston's a very, very sports town. Deon loves sports. And it was like, okay, wait a second, like, and I think the reason why I think this, for me, is a good one is how the story was told. Not only through the packaging,
right, but
all around, and how it came together, because there's so many details that were so thought through, from the little jokes and the little tongue-in-cheek storytelling. It's really well done.
So we're super pleased with it. We think, all in all, between, you know, not only the packaging, like Darin said, the content we created around it, working with a celebrity chef, and actually doing a turducken with Brian Anderson. You know, we actually had more content for this than I think we've ever had for anything. So there's probably stuff that would be on the cutting room floor for ages. We'll be talking about this one for a long time.
Now that I look back, was everything that we started and did with Nike SB. It worked.